The recent news proves the data is just not safe. These are technology companies, so how can any company be safe? And what other companies have already been hacked but don't know it? The technology currently used to protect data is called encryption. A leading crypto expert says that breaches cannot be prevented. All you can do is respond to the breach. Sometimes detection takes weeks, sometimes it takes months. For Yahoo, it took 3 years. As bad as this may seem, things are about to get much worse. Encryption is based on math being too difficult for today's computers. In fact, one security company actually has a tagline, "In math, we trust." But there's a new type of computer being developed. It's called a quantum computer. This is what one looks like. As you can see, it's really fast. Michael Moska, founder of the Institute of Quantum Computing, explains a brand new type of threat.
There is, however, one tiny catch. I mean, we're all eager to seize the wonderful applications of quantum technologies. It is a more powerful form of computing. So things like multiplying. So let's go to, in the classical paradigm, multiplication is easy. But if you give me, there are problems that are hard. Like if you give me a large number and ask me what are its prime factors, that takes a really long time on a classical computer. If you give me a 2,000-bit number, so 600 or so digit number, it's beyond current computing. You use the best known algorithms, all the available computing power today, we can't do it. So it's hard. And it turns out a certain form of public key cryptography, a widely deployed form of public key cryptography, is based on this problem being hard. We need this to be hard for those systems, for our internet base today to be secure. There are some other problems. There's this very small group of problems, and others called discrete logarithm-based or elliptic curve cryptography. That's also, these problems are hard on classical computers, and they're a founding pillar of modern-day cybersecurity. The problem is, in the quantum paradigm, factoring becomes easy. And if you'd say, oh, but don't worry, there was also these other forms of cryptography, well, those become easy too. That's bad news. Okay? On the one hand, we want to seize all the wonderful opportunities that quantum technologies offer, but we don't want our cyber infrastructure to collapse. If quantum computers are available today, it would have a devastating impact on our cybersecurity infrastructure. So devastating impact if one of the foundational pillars of cybersecurity is broken and we're caught off guard and not ready with a failover plan. Mitigating this threat is not simple. It's very complicated. It takes a long time. In principle, we have solutions, but they're nowhere close to being ubiquitously deployed in practice. So if we wait until it's too late to do this changeover, okay, then we're not just looking at a cyber punch to the face in the future, right? When you break crypto, you're breaking the foundations. There's no patch up. If an insider compromises your system, at some point you notice it, you get rid of the insider, and you can rebuild your system. If there's a security flaw in your software, you find it eventually. I mean, there's damage done, but you then fix it, and then you rebuild and you move on. But if your crypto's broken and there's nothing to fix it, then there's nothing to rebuild with. Maybe this is a little over the top. The flames aren't going to be quite that high, but we really are talking about a potentially catastrophic failure of our information and communication technology infrastructure if we really do nothing, do not have the failover methods at least ready to go. And it's not just about encryption, it's also about authentication. When we download auto updates every single day on our computers to fix network security flaws that are vulnerabilities, if we don't download those auto updates, we're vulnerable. If we do, and how do we know that is Microsoft and that code is the code that they meant to send you and hasn't been tampered with and had malware injected?
The first commercial quantum computers are actually available today. Much of the work is state-sponsored in countries like China, so it's hard to get firm deadlines. It's thought that the really fast ones are still 3 to 5 years away. And that's a problem because According to the U.S. standards body NIST, avoiding a catastrophic failure will take 10 to 20 years. This will affect all types of data, Internet of Things devices, and even Bitcoin. Most firms focus on short-term customer needs. For this reason, few companies are acting on the quantum computer threat, and that's a big problem, but there are more immediate risks. Michael Mosca mentioned how authentication systems will be at risk. Actually, they're at risk right now. Hackers have a way to gain access. Let's say someone wants to access your bank account. They use a PIN or biometric, such as a fingerprint. The bank tells the app that the access is granted or not. Hackers have a way to intercept this return message and force granted access to your money. The problem, again, is that encryption can be broken. These risks are unacceptable for people, for companies, and for government agencies. So I decided to do something about it. My name is Doug Packover, and I run an independent lab that researches new disruptive technologies. I don't have customers, so I'm free to focus on things that most in the industry cannot. I've written 17 patents and have others pending. One of them is for token security. In fact, this was even before the industry came up with the word tokens. They protect things like Apple Pay and Google Wallet. But my focus is on much larger problems, like solving the threat of quantum computers and authentication systems. To understand security, all you need is a dollar bill. Encryption is like shredding a dollar bill and putting it in an envelope. All the data is there, and the industry hopes that it's safe. We see the word hope a lot when it comes to quantum computers. That's not good enough. Encryption is based on how data is stored. Tokens are completely different because they're based on where data is stored. Part is stored in the original file, while the sensitive part is removed and stored in a token vault. And just like a dollar bill, neither has value without the other half. But how do we secure the token vault? It's simple. The vault contains random zeros and ones. When requested, some are used to make up, say, the number 2. This 2 happens to be part of an address, but it could have been part of an account number, a financial amount, a product code, or any other value. This is controlled by an unknown request from an unknown client. So the token vault is safe from quantum computing attacks. It's also safe from insider threats and unintentional breaches. Another type of token protects against the threat to authentication that we've seen. So what else can tokens do? As a design goal, I decided that tokens should accept the challenge made by the Center of Democracy and Technology almost 20 years ago. Here's the punchline. The modern right to privacy also entails the right to control our personal information even after we disclose it to others. In other words, we need to be able to control data in unknown locations. Everyone has told me that this is impossible, which just made the challenge more challenging. Let's look at an example. We used to keep in touch with our friends by phone or by email. Facebook has made it easier to keep in touch with hundreds of people, but like everything else that's free, there's a catch. People have to give up control of their personal information. This part of Facebook is very unpopular. A new company is going to use tokens to solve this problem. Each user will specify which message or post must be kept private. The following video is a proof of concept for the new company that uses tokens to make Facebook private. It demonstrates that control after disclosure is in fact possible. Lynn and Janet are having a conversation. Lynn is upset with her boss. Sending this could create a permanent record of her feelings, something that might prevent her from getting, say, another job. So instead, she makes this message private. When Janet gets the message, she cannot see it. But when Janet authenticates, she sees the message. She replies and the conversation continues. But if a third party looks at the conversation, Lynn's privacy has been protected. This simple proof of concept demonstrates several disruptive technologies. Lynn uses Facebook and has no idea where her data is stored, but she still controls her personal information. Every copy of her data is private and secure. Here's what a former FBI special agent says about this capability.
Hi, I'm Brad Chief. I'm a former Air Force officer and special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation that focused largely on investigations of cybercrime, both domestically and abroad. Anyone can tell you that the world's a dangerous place and that you should be careful when disclosing your personal information or any other sensitive data. But that's not helpful when so much of the modern economy and all the conveniences that come along with it require that you disclose precisely that kind of information. The truth is that we are all presented with a dilemma daily that pits our desire for privacy against our desire to participate in the many benefits of today's technology. Fortunately, as a result of years of experience in the field and groundbreaking research, the team at Make It Private has developed the solution that eliminates this dilemma to give you back control over your personal information without limiting your ability to participate in the information age. I've spent some very long hours tracking down cyber criminals both domestically and abroad. I know how high the stakes can be in the battle over sensitive information. The last thing you want is to lose control of your data. What Make It Private has done in developing a technology that gives you back control over your personal information is quite frankly remarkable.
This simple proof of concept demonstrates several disruptive technologies. Lynn can change or even delete her content after it's sent. She can narrow or widen who can read it. And this control can be for any web-based service like Twitter, Office 365, Google Docs, and even products like Salesforce. She has control after disclosure for any service. Lynn can even exercise her right to be forgotten, which is now a European requirement. So we've seen that tokens solve many pressing issues, and we can include eliminating breach detection and response times. We'll end with some use cases for how this disruptive technology will be used. Watson is critically important to IBM, but there are two problems that must be solved: privacy and security. By solving both privacy and security, we have a new type of control for Watson or for any other application. I've highlighted the parts that IBM would likely see as a priority. Global hotel chains have customers who travel, which means their data can be used in different locations. The new European regulations have heavy fines for not providing their customers with the same control that we saw Lynn had in our Facebook example. Medical device companies implant Internet of Things devices. Their focus is protection from hacking. It could get pretty scary. Cloud applications like Office 365, Google Docs, Salesforce, and so on are mainly concerned about protecting the data. But if a file is in the EU or contains information about EU citizens, more privacy features will be needed. Government agencies such as the Department of Defense require the most secure technologies available. Fortune 500 companies will be concerned about privacy compliance for their EU customers. Financial institutions require both international privacy compliance as well as security for their financial apps. As we've seen, security authentication for them will be vital. Apple is interesting because it's committed to privacy. This is because it makes money from hardware. Tim Cook uses this to differentiate from Google, which makes money by collecting personal information. Google is only interested in privacy because of the huge potential fines. And of course, consulting firms could use all of these capabilities because their clients will have all of these needs. This disruptive innovation controls all types of data on all types of devices. You can read more on my LinkedIn profile. I look forward to discussing how this can benefit your company.